Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about how Jason Lake, the CEO of Complexity, has provided some insight as to why some of these organizations as well as Complexity left. eUnited also finalized their full roster and a bunch of community tournaments are about to get underway. But before we go into the intro, I just want to say a massive thank you to you guys for all the continued support. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit subscribe, turn on notifications, as well as leave a like on the video as it helps me out greatly. In a recent video by Jason Lake, CEO of Complexity, they ended up talking about how there was a question from like an AMA where someone asked, what is the reason that he thinks as to why all of these orgs are leaving the Rocket League scene? And rather than me talk about it, here's the clip.
What do you think of big orgs like C9 and Mouse pulling out of Rocket League? Do you think it was the same reason Cole left Rocket League? First, let me say I can't speculate why they pulled out of Rocket League. I can make general high-level comments about why we did, and it's probably a safe bet that they were thinking something along the same lines. Rocket League's a great game, solid community, easy to understand, fun to play, fun to watch. It's got a lot of the core mechanics of a good esport. You know, it's a good spectator esport. But in this new world of esports, there's so many games. And each organization needs to decide where they're going to invest limited amount of funds, get the quote unquote biggest bang for our buck. Gone are the days where you can just go into a game because you love that game, because the players, which is great, are making a lot of money. And if you're going to invest a couple $100,000 a year in a game, it needs to have a financial, cause, a reason in the boardroom for being in that game. Not just like, hey, we like this game, because we definitely love Rocket League. In my opinion, and to be fair, I haven't followed it very closely recently because we've been out for a while. In my opinion, the developer did not do enough to support the team participation in their game. They were too slow on some of the things like in-game items and branding and rev share, and some of the things that other developers are further along on. Rainbow Six, for example, I know is doing a really good job with that. This is probably the topic of an entire other video, but developers need to understand that the players and the teams are an invaluable part of an ecosystem if they really want to be in esports, and it's not just a cheap marketing tool for them. It has to be a win-win for everybody. The teams can't just be spending all this money on players and travel and support staff and managers and coaches and sports psychologists and housing and all this other stuff, and then we get 10-20% of the prize usually? Where's the ROI? Let's work together. Put Complexity logos on the cars faster. Sell them. Get us rev share. Let's explore other ways through media rights and things like that to properly monetize this. Let's build it together. Not all developers have seen that yet. I'm optimistic that more and more are seeing that. And maybe Psyonix and now Epic, maybe they have plans. Again, I don't want to be tweeted tomorrow, oh, you didn't know about this? I haven't followed Rocket League that closely since we left. It's a great game. It's a missed opportunity, and I think the fact that a lot of these teams are leaving is just proof of that.
Biggest takeaway is one of two things. Number one, he talks about how it's a missed opportunity, and number two, there's not enough ROIs. For those that don't know what ROIs are, it is return on investment. A lot of organizations are spending, like you said, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they can only allocate so much into so many esports. Long are the days that you can just invest in something that you're happy about, even though there's no return on that investment. And I think that's the biggest issue and the biggest concern from a lot of these organizations, as we're starting to see a trend from all those leaving, is they are fed up with pumping in hundreds of thousands of dollars and not getting anything in return, especially when the turnaround time for in-game items and stuff like that they have been basically told is going to help with that burden of cost. And it's just, the turnaround time is so long to where it's not worth it. And it's frustrating to see. So it does feel like things are trending in the right direction, but I hope it's not too little too late. What seems like has been a tryout forever, Memory has been officially signed to the eUnited squad in replacement of Roldiz. Roldiz ended up retiring and then came back for kind of a last revival in an open qualifier tournament. But since then, we have not seen anything from him. Sub and longtime community member and player also being brought in officially as a coach. Again, happy to see that they are sticking with a player. They've had some pretty good results recently, but I actually have some concerns about this roster. I feel like Memory does bring in a lot of consistencies to the team. He's going to help them kind of increase their base level of play from week in and week out. But I do have problems that this is more of the same. It's not providing any fixes long term, and that may lead me to believe that this is kind of a short-term band-aid. Yes, Memory is a good foundation, but they still need more pieces of the puzzle. But I don't want to count out Ajax or Hoxer yet. I think they have a lot of potential as players, and maybe a good foundation in Memory will help out with that. But either way, I'm excited to see how it trends. The Rocket League Oceania Grand Slam event, $46,000 prize pool, by the way, in American, not dollary dues or imaginary Monopoly money, as we give those guys a hard time for, is officially underway. The main event goes down today at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is 11 p.m. EST. So very, very late. It's very likely that this event has actually already concluded. And if that is the case, twitch.tv/RLOceania. I will leave a link in the description. You guys can go and watch the VODs. I'm sure they are available. But there's a lot of teams. You guys should be able to see a graphic right now of the 6 teams that are invited. 2 were invited, both Renegades and Cringe Society, which are kind of the 2 best performing players from the spring series. You guys know Renegades as CJ and crew. Renegades has not lost a tournament online since like week 3 or 4 of league play back for RLCS 9. So a pretty big hot streak. I'll be paying attention to see how those guys perform. Longtime partner Team Beyond for the community tournaments is partnering with Astro Gaming as usual to bring another tournament. $10,000 finals prize pool, but $26,000 in prize money over the course of a circuit. As you guys can see in the graphic here, additional prizes being given up to $4,000 in prizes and other things that aren't just monetary. Qualifiers start June 29th, which is the same day as the European Gold Rush event, which we'll talk about next, and span until October 10th for the grand finals. More details can be found in the description. Otherwise, feel free to pause to look at the graphic. Gold Rush Revival, its 3rd iteration, and details are officially out, with Europe playing on the 29th and NA playing on the 30th. Format will be 4 captains, which will draft from a pool of 12 players in the region, and they will then compete in a double elimination bracket, best of 5s until the grand finals, which will be a best of 7. Captains are also provided a unit of currency, I guess, called gold nuggets, and those nuggets can be used to wager on certain matches. By the end of the event, they will determine who has the most nuggets, and then the captains who actually aren't playing or competing or doing anything in that sense have the ability to actually win some prize money for themselves. If you guys want more details about the specifics of that, how that all breaks down, I'll leave a Reddit link down below. It actually has everything listed in like a bracket and formats and all that kind of stuff to show like how much they can wager per round and all the kind of nitty gritty stuff. Saltmine 2 European qualifiers just wrapped up with the 2nd qualifier with 2 more to go. A link to the bracket and all the specifics will be found in the description. I'm not putting too much emphasis on these because there's so many matches that are being played and we still have another 2 qualifiers, so double what's already happened. But as we get into the main event, I'll put a little bit more focus on the specifics as we kind of come down to the wire. And for one of the top comments, GB Lawrence 03 asks, do you have an idea what will be happening with the next competitive season of Rocket League? If they continue with the consistent seasons, it should end in the middle of July. So I'm surprised there hasn't been an announcement as of yet. So 2 parts to this. First and foremost, thanks for the love. Saying you love the content and really appreciate the effort. Thank you, man. That's awesome. Second thing, you talk about how the next competitive season and all this other kind of stuff. There's a lot of facets to this, and I've kind of discussed it in previous videos. If you haven't looked out, I think I talked about it in last video, and then also in a video which is entirely about this new format that's supposed to be coming. There was 2 things that was mentioned. Recently, there was a Twitch Rivals tournament that talks about how by the end of this month, so we're talking within the next like 6 days here, there is supposed to be an announcement about what is happening in RLCS 10. We don't know what the details of that are going to include or what it is, but we have been told by what we consider the, I guess, head of esports in Corey Lanier that by the end of this month, more details should be coming out. So the fact that we're getting details soon is a good thing. The other half to this is a lot of us, myself included, assume that the format that I guess got leaked, if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's pretty confusing, but this new format is going to be changing the way that we view the Rocket League esports ecosystem. It is no longer, you know, early spring to very early summer. It is no longer from fall till winter. It is completely different. So I'm going to try to explain this in layman's terms to the best of my ability. I know this is super complicated without a visual, but try to stay with me. So RLCS 10 starts. It's a year-long system. It's 365 days. I assume it's going to start probably early September, maybe late August. I don't exactly know. 6 events, 3 times a year. So you get 3 North America, 3 Europe, 3 times. Okay. At the same time that that's going on, there will also be a weekly league play that we're kind of used to in the RLCS now. Those all then filter into an international event like we see in Noah's LAN. That'll happen, like I said, 3 times because there's 3 splits. After all of that is done, after we figure out like who the best of the best is consistently through all these splits and all these regional events and all these international majors, as they've called them, they will take a point structure, and I don't know how stuff is being weighted, and that will all funnel into the World Championship, which is a single event where everything means a heck of a lot more, and it's fantastic. So I hope that answers your questions, but if it doesn't, again, somewhere probably up here throughout the video will be a link to that event and that video that I talked about how the new format works with the visual, and I hope that answers your questions. But again, twitch.tv/Lawler. Stop by my stream and I'll do my best to kind of explain it. And then we can answer questions live, because doing this through comments in the video isn't always the easiest. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, you guys know to drop those down below, and you may find one of your questions featured in the videos like we just saw. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, as well as hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the videos. That is going to do it for me. I'm out of here. Peace.